actions make the difference in our life. You know, whether it's in our nutrition, whether it's in our sleep, whether it's in our physical actions. You know, we sometimes think that life happens to us, but the truth is we're in control of life.
Yoga Mara welcomes you to the Love Your Limits podcast. We are two sisters from the west of Ireland with a passion for helping people connect back to themselves and feel less alone on their journey. Both of us have contrasting personalities, career background, and life experience, yet each of us found physical, emotional, and mental healing from learning to live more intuitively and with integrity.
We will be sharing our own personal journeys alongside interviewing a wide range of health and wellness experts that will empower you to shed fear, self-doubt, and move into a place of self-love and confidence. It is time to put yourself first, create healthy boundaries, and learn to love your limits. Welcome to the Love Your Limits podcast. Today on the show, we are delighted to introduce the wonderful Enda O'Doherty. Enda is an extraordinary inspirational speaker and accomplished endurance athlete. His exceptional passion, endurance, and remarkable ability to captivate audiences make him a highly sought-after speaker, empowering individuals with his powerful message. With an unwavering spirit and a relentless drive, he fearlessly conquers the world's most formidable challenges. He has surpassed the limits of marathon running, conquering iconic challenges like Ironman Sweden and Ironman UK. These grueling endurance races encompass a 4-kilometre swim, a challenging 180-kilometre bike ride, and a full marathon. Enda's mindset and mental toughness sets him apart from others, completing 9 marathons in 8 days while carrying a washing machine on his back. Enda's unwavering drive fuels his mission to inspire individuals in sports, business, professions, and education. With a unique ability to motivate teams, individuals, and organisations, Enda stands out as an exceptional catalyst for success with his captivating tales of conquering physical and mental obstacles, embarking on a transformative self-discovery journey. Welcome to the podcast, Enda.
Bloody hell, you have to lie down after that intro. That's an intro and a half. This guy must be sensational.
Well, you are. And trust me, Hannah and I have witnessed you in action. And we were blown away by one of your talks on the toolbox of joy.
Thank you.
And we were just so inspired and motivated afterwards.
Thank you.
Before we get into all of that, can you just give us a brief background of yourself and what brought you to the place you are today?
Yeah, it's a long story. It's a long story. It starts back in 1968, and my mother tells me that she was in labour for about 5 weeks. I don't know. Every time she told me the story of labour, she added another week. And every time I did something wrong, she added multiple weeks. You know, when your mommy says, "And to think I was in labour for 65 weeks with you." But it was August 68, and I lived in Mullingar next to the famous Joe Dolan for about 4 years. And then my parents moved to a little town in West Wicklow called Dunlavin, where they bought a tiny little shop, a tiny little sweet shop with a wraparound counter and a massive collection of coffins, because the guy who owned the shop was also the local undertaker. And I can remember being 4, maybe 5, going into this place and like wondering why these people had coffins in their sitting room. And it did make an impression on me. I remember my parents being very upset leaving Mullingar. Beautiful place to live, great place to live. And we still have lots of family living there. But I lived there until 1986 in West Wicklow. And then I went to Killashee. So if anyone's looking for a nice treat, it's now a beautiful hotel outside Naas. I went to primary school there. And then secondary school, I went to Newbridge College, where I developed a love of gambling and rugby. My wife heard Bernard Jackman being interviewed one day, and he said that everyone in his class was a jockey, an owner, a trainer, and all we talked about was rugby. So he said, my entire life revolves around gambling and rugby. And my wife looked at me and she went, She said, now it all
dots are connected.
Dots connected. But did the Leaving Cert in 86, and I say literally mean that. I did it because I was made do it by my parents, and I was told to get a sensible degree. So I headed off to university, where I met my soul partner, the love of my life, my lovely wife. She was in first year and I was in second year. And actually, I asked her, I'll tell you how old I am if people aren't watching this. So for our first date, I cooked her boiled potatoes. pork chops, and I wanted her to know she was dealing with sort of an exotic guy. So I bought this new product that was out called Ballygowan. Now, if you can imagine this, it was fizzy water in a bottle, and she thought I was super sophisticated. But yeah, we met in college, and I got my first teaching job in De La Salle College in Waterford City, where I stayed for 33 years. I went teaching, to be honest, because I was made. You know, it was a sensible job with a good pension, and you know, be a good lad now and do what your parents tell you. Go off and get an education. But to be honest, like a lot of things in life, you know, the best things happen by accident. I didn't know anything about teaching, didn't really want to be a teacher, but oh my God, the first day, at the end of the first day, I just went, this is fantastic. And I loved every single second of it, you know. I suppose in part of that journey, I would tell you my dad didn't drink alcohol because his mom was an alcoholic and his grandmother was an alcoholic. And I wasn't born with that intelligence. So I decided I could book the trend, and I decided I would be well able to handle my alcohol. And of course, unfortunately for me, the genes were there and the opportunity was there. And, you know, people said to me, you know, tell us about when you were an alcoholic. I am an alcoholic today. It's like a Bad Country and Western song, but I'm sober today, and I'm happy to be sober today. But it's somewhere around 17 years now since I had alcohol. But it permeated every aspect of my life. Like I was up at probably 4 bottles of whiskey a week. Watching the old Celtic League and the rugby, my Friday night drink was a pint glass of vodka, and I'd often drink a bottle of cough syrup with that, because a pint glass of vodka was like you having a glass of Prosecco. You know, it had no effect on me. And I think, you know, for me, my own mental health and physical health, I didn't realize was in decline. But it's when I stopped drinking alcohol, then I realized I had anxiety disorder, I had depression, I had sleep disorder. You know, I had never told my wife really that I loved her when I was sober. I'd never danced at a wedding sober. I was dependent on alcohol for lots and lots of aspects of my life. And, you know, I really went through a horrible, horrible couple of years when I stopped drinking, ironically, you know. But, you know, anyone listening to this, don't switch off yet. I promise it's not misery. So,
Yeah.
But, you know, there were dark times. I mean, I did sit in my garden shed on my own, contemplating leaving the planet. And, you know, when you're drinking that amount of alcohol, you're not thinking clearly. But, you know, fast forward to being on Know Your Limits podcast today, you know, it's an amazing jump to think that 3 books later, and I now work as a full-time motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, telling people about my life story and lessons I've learned. And I'm so grateful to have had the journey, you know. It's very hard.
amazing.
It's very, very hard when someone says, Enda, tell us about your life in 1 minute and 25 seconds.
It's so hard. It's
But
so hard.
that's brought me here today.
Yeah,
incredible.
amazing. And was there a moment when you were, like you say, it wasn't until you actually got sober that you realized what was going on for you on another level? What was the turning point? Was there a particular moment, or was it just like, oh, I can't go on like this? Or how did you realize, do you know what, alcohol isn't serving me anymore?
You know,
'Cause I
you're
think a
so
lot of
nice,
people
the two of you. You're the nicest. There's a glow of goodness and health and happiness about the two of you. And I'm so tempted to lie to you and tell you, you know, I was on a bridge and there was a moon and I looked into the truth is, right, I played a tennis match really late one night. I was wired with adrenaline, finished about 11 o'clock at night, came home, poured a massive glass of brandy and milk, because I remember reading Brendan Behan drank brandy and milk, and I thought it was good enough for him. He knew a lot about drinking, so it was good enough for me. But had the brandy, had the tennis, had the adrenaline, and had an awful night's sleep, you know. So the next morning, I just sat on the side of the bed and I said to my wife, that's it, I'm done, I'm finished. And she said the immortal words to me. She said, are you, love? That's great. Which, it's a bit like, you know, the way dogs can hear a dog whistle, a particular tone. So married men or men in relationships can hear this tone. What she really meant was, in your wildest dreams, you're never doing that. You couldn't if you wanted to. And I suppose a recurring theme in my life, it's a great theme, is when someone says to me, yeah, I bet you couldn't, I go, watch me. So that was the last drink I had. And to be honest, all hell broke loose. I mean, when I stopped, oh my God, it was horrendous, you know, absolutely horrendous. I should have got medical intervention. I should have been on medication. I should have had counselling. I just went right, bang, cold turkey.
Yeah.
And,
Which is very unnerving. And I think
it's stupid.
for something like an addiction like that, you know, whatever addiction it might be, whether it's chocolate, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's alcohol, drugs, it's all masking something, and it's putting off, you know, the inevitable, and it's hiding all these parts of ourselves that we're so scared and fearful to face,
Yeah.
which makes it so much more courageous when you do. So fair dues for getting there.
Thanks a million. Well, I it's great that my camera's working with you here today, because over this shoulder, if I wiggle it, you can see there's a copy of my book. It's called I'm Fine. And actually, we were going to call it I'm Grand or I'm Deadly, but we were afraid for the UK and America. In America or UK, if you say I'm grand, it means I'm quite posh. You know, I'm grand.
Yes, I'm grand.
Grand.
Yeah.
So that's why we went with I'm Fine. But like the people tell me it's a perfect book cover for a podcast, because, you know, you can describe it so easily. So the title is I'm Fine, but the picture is the truth. The picture is the reality that I was really struggling with life and I'm screaming. And actually the story behind that picture is brilliant. The photographer who took it was like 4 hours into the session. And I wanted, you know, the one where I'm Obama looking out over the lawns of the White House thinking about life. And about 4 hours in, he goes, right, I'm going to set up another light setting here. And I went, oh, Jesus, come on. I said, Dave, I'm starving. And he went, tops, he said, will be another hour. And I went, screamed. And he went, click.
There's the shot.
And he said, that's the one. And I went, no. I want the one, like, this is my first book and it could be my only book. I want the one where I looked like, you know, Richard Branson on an island looking out over the ocean. Not the one me screaming. He said, well, that's what the book is about. It's about the fact that you hid how you felt. And he said we have
so many of us do, I think, especially, maybe it's especially in Ireland, I feel, you know, everything is, fine, everything's grand, everything's perfect, like, you know, and behind it all, you know, whatever about being dishonest with others, I think a lot of us are very dishonest with ourselves. And it's, you know, it's so refreshing to hear people getting vulnerable and, you know, raw about how they're really feeling, because it makes others connect with you on a relatable level, on a human level. You know, life is not easy, you know, no matter what you're going through. No. You know, the energy in the world today is very anxious, edgy. It's hard not to take it in. Yeah. So it is, it's so much more refreshing to just be real about it.
It is, and I think, you know, like, nobody's surprised if, you know, if you had a barbecue tonight and you stood and someone decided in their wisdom to put a tire on top of the barbecue and the black smoke that came off that and you stood by it, you wouldn't be surprised the next morning if your hair and your clothes and everything was absolutely stink, you know. But we're surprised when we surround ourselves with negative people, negative news, anxiety, stress, that it doesn't stick to us. Of course it does, you know. You know, like you're driving to work in the morning and you know, someone you're listening to and they say the yen has gone down 3.4%, and you're going, Jesus, the yen has gone down, and you're going, and then it dawns on me anyway, like, what is a yen? Is it like a hen? Is it a fiver? Is it, you know? But it's gone down 6%. Like, oh my God. Do you know? And it's terrible.
Let's all panic.
Let's all panic. And it's terrible. What's absolutely horrendous. What's going on in Palestine and, you know, and war. And like I see today, you know, a kid's hospital being bombed in Kiev. Like who in their right mind can send a missile to blow up a children's hospital? But like I intentionally try not to watch much of the news during the week. You have to be informed and you have to know what's going on and you have to have, you know. But you also, I think a good thing is a filter, because if you do listen to misery the whole time, it's like, do you know if there's someone working with you? Everyone has this character. We'll call her, I don't know, Maria. We'll make up a Maria, right? You know, Maria sits down beside you in work and she goes, God, my hair is greasy. I can't afford my mortgage. I hate my boyfriend. My car broke down. It's lashing outside. Oh my God, there's nothing in my fridge for dinner tonight. How are you? Right? And by the time she finishes, you're like, oh jeez,
yes,
drained. But if everyone knows that and we're laughing because we know it's true, you should also be able to flip that. You know, like I surround myself in life with people who are brilliant, inspirational, happy, can teach me, can help me, can support me, encourage me. And that's like sometimes people say to me, you know, Enda, God, you always seem in great form. Okay, it's part of my job to be upbeat. I'm a motivational speaker. Like, you know, I'm hardly going to walk out on stage and go, having an okay day today. Do you know? Nobody's going to pay to listen to that, right?
I know.
But you can take actions, and you know, you have to know how to love yourself and how to look after yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, that happiness is no longer an accident. So like a typical day for me is like, it's crazy, but we're out of bed at 5:30 this morning. And we have breakfast in bed every single morning of our life. I know one of you is planning for a very significant romantic event shortly, not too distant future. But like somebody said to me, you know, Valentine's, well, did you bring her breakfast in bed? And I didn't tell this person the truth, but we've had breakfast in bed for 30 years, every day of our lives. right?
Wow.
Because when I start working or my wife's working, when the kids were smaller, sometimes, we didn't see each other till the evening, so we were both wrecked, and I didn't want to talk to myself, never mind her,
Yeah.
So we take 20 minutes, a half an hour every day where we have a cup of coffee and we have breakfast together and we spend some time together every day, regardless of where we're doing, what we're doing. That's the start. Every day I try to grow my brain, because I have a very low IQ. So, I mean, I don't want it to get any, I'm already world-class stupid. So I try and learn something every day. I'm trying to improve my French at the moment, right? But the ability to learn something new, my dad has a great mantra: remember, you know nothing. So I try to learn every morning. I try to connect every morning. So I ring someone I care about or I love and tell them, whether it's friends or family, every single day without fail. Do you know the way both of you, like, say you wouldn't give up toilet paper for a month? Can you imagine if you turn around and said, "Do you know what? I'm done with the bum thing now. I'm not doing any more toilet paper." Can you imagine? It's horrendous, even the thought of it, right? Or could you imagine saying, "Right, I'm not brushing my teeth for the next 6 or 7 weeks because it's just overrated," right? They're basics that you have in your life. One of those things are basics in our life, but one too is exercise. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether you want to climb a mountain, ballroom dancing, pole dancing. It doesn't matter if you're into jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, hockey, tennis. Move your body, you'll be happier.
Yeah.
So, as broken as I am, I go to the gym every day of the week. I do something every day of the week. We get time in nature every day. So there is the most beautiful, I live right beside Waterford Castle, if you've ever been down. And like the last couple of mornings, we've gone for a walk. If you can imagine this, the sun is coming up over the river. Waterford Medieval Castle is on an island, and there are freshwater dolphins swimming on the river as we're walking through the woods. Like, that sounds like a 1970s, those posters that you used to have in your bedroom.
Yeah.
But
Is it Ireland?
Is it Ireland? Yeah, it is. And we do that every single day. So it's I think it's from having lost happiness completely and not wanting to live, that I'm intent on, like, I don't wake up and go, "Geez, I hope today is okay. I hope today is a good day." I do stuff to make today okay,
And is that, Enda, what you put down to being your drive? Like, is that what makes you stay so motivated? Because for me, looking at you and listening to your stories and your background, you have an incredibly resilient mindset and very admirable. How do you stay that motivated? Is that kind of, that the previous experience that you've had, do you remind yourself of that every day in order to stay focused on track and
like it's
that disciplined?
Like people, someone listening to this podcast, right, could die, right? You could die in the next 10 seconds, right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if you're still listening, that means you didn't die, right? Which is good, okay? But here's the thing is, for everyone listening to the podcast and the three of us, at some stage in your life, that countdown is a real thing. That will really happen to you. And at that stage, it's too late to see the pyramids. It's too late to read that book. It's too late to write that book. It's too late to apologize to that person that you fell out with years ago. It's too late to try that dream that you've always wanted to pursue. So, like, I try to live my life. Like, I spoke to a young journalist not so long ago. The poor fella nearly had a heart attack, and we were chatting away. And he said to me, "You live your life like you're terminally ill." And I said, "I am." And the poor fella nearly wet himself. He was like, "Oh my God, Jesus, my editor never told me. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, what is it?" I said, "What disease have you got?" And I said, "It's called life." I said, I'm 55 and a half. That's why I know the clock is ticking. I can hear it's getting louder. I said, "You're 25. You're not thinking about it." But like, for everybody, that day will come. And what I'm trying to do is, like, literally squeeze the juice out of every day, get the most out of every day, I know when you heard me speak a few weeks back, it was the first time I'd spoken in public about my dad passing away. He had died about 3 months before that day, but like, he was down here for a weekend in Waterford. We had watched obscene amounts of rugby. We'd had a snoring competition where I beat him comfortably in the sitting room watching movies. The Irish thing, we argue over what movie we'll put on. We put the movie on and then everyone snores and then everyone wakes up and nobody knows what the movie was about. But that weekend he told me, that he was proud of me as a father, or he was proud of my kids. And I told him I loved him, and I told him why I loved him. And, I told him I was the husband I was because of the home I grew up in. And 2 days later, he slipped on the stairs and he hit his head. And that was it. In an instant, his life ended, and we never get to speak again. But, it's one of the nicest things is that there was real love and peace and joy in our home and between us. And I've no regrets when I look back now.
So
And that's
important.
so important, exactly. And it's so easy to let the years slip by, and we know that now, even with our, even this year, I'm like, I can't believe it's the middle of July. And yeah, it is those things that life is too short, and I suppose holding on to resentment, holding on to grudges, holding on to past pain or trauma, although it's difficult to let go of it, it's actually so important in order for you to live a more fulfilled life. Being able to shed the old to welcome the new. It's very hard to bring in all this joy and happiness and fulfillment if you're still holding on to all the resentment and the hurt and the pain. So that's such a good point. And
I think it's important as well, like you said, with those words you spoke to your dad before he passed. And I'm so sorry for that. It sounded like a very tough time, and it's something you're always going to be going through, and these waves of grief come and go. But it's, stating the obvious. Don't assume anybody knows how you feel about them. That's something I've learned recently. It's like, never assume. Even if it is very obvious to you, it mightn't be obvious to that person.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Words
At
hold a
at
lot of
the
power.
funeral, when people come up and it's a very Irish thing. Like it was absolutely fantastic. We had 3 days in the house, and there was like everyone, and there was people I hadn't. The first girl I kissed when I was 11 turned up at the funeral, and I hadn't seen her for 40 years. And we had the best chat ever, and about her life and where she had ended up. And we it was an amazing few days. But in Ireland at the funeral, everyone says, if there's anything we can do, just let us know. And there's nothing people can do. But I decided that it was something I wanted to do. So people shook my hand at the wake, and they said, Enda, we're so sorry for the loss of your dad. And said, is there anything we can do? And I said, there is. And everybody instantly went, oh, because you're not expecting that, right?
Yeah.
And they said, what can we do? And I said, will you ring the people you love on the way home and tell them why you love them? And the amount of people who got in touch with me after the funeral and said, you know what, I told my sister I loved her, or I told my aunt I loved her, or, I had an argument with my dad. It's been going on 6 years, and I apologized, and we've made up. Like, actions make the difference in our life, whether it's in our nutrition, whether it's in our sleep, whether it's in our physical actions. We sometimes think that life happens to us, but the truth is we're in control of life. I actually didn't finish when I was talking to you there about my day. If you ever try and ring me after 10 o'clock, best of luck with that. I have a digital sunset, so from 9 to 10, no phone, no screen. 10 o'clock, I'm in bed every night, and I sleep like a baby, because I know what it's like to not have sleep and not have that restorative peace. And so I protect it like you wouldn't believe,
So that would be like your non-negotiables. Like, what would be, for somebody listening now, like your key ingredients to live a happy, fulfilling life that you have to get in every day?
Do you know what? I could do it in one word. How's that? Actions.
Yeah.
Because people don't. I know people who sit in the couch and go, oh my God, I'm so broke. Oh my God, my visa bill is so big. And they focus all their energy and time on the problem instead of saying, right, what's the solution? What could I do? Like the next time you're sitting on the couch and you go, oh my God, my jeans are getting tight. If you have that thought, within 20 seconds, get up and go and walk for an hour. And if you have that thought for 6 times this week, you'll have 6 hours walking done, which is a marathon. Right? And watch what happens. It's the ability to take action, and the ability to take persistent, consistent action. Okay, so I climbed Kilimanjaro with a washing machine on my back. That's part of who I am, and it's part of my story, and it's part of my job now that, I have to inspire people. But your Kilimanjaro can be walking for 20 minutes every morning before work, or 20 minutes after work. Your Kilimanjaro could be finally deciding to put down those cigarettes. Your Kilimanjaro could be 1 takeaway a week instead of 5 takeaways a week. It's about making a decision that I'm going to do something that's for the betterment of me, my health, and my family. That's what it's about, not saying to people, don't be a passenger in life. Don't wander along and hope things get better, do something.
Make the choice.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kilimanjaro with a washing machine on your back,
Yeah.
can you please elaborate? Because that just sounds so crazy.
Yeah. So I wanted to open Pieta House in Waterford City where I was living, and we wanted to raise funds. And we also, I suppose we started out trying to raise money, and then I realized it wasn't about money. It was about a powerful, simple mental health message. It was saying to people, like, your life matters. Suicide is wrong. And if you're under pressure, don't carry a stupid load around, put it down. So the most stupid thing I could think of carrying was a washing machine. And initially we did 9 marathons in 8 days, small little trot from Belfast to Waterford. It was pretty tough, so I hope people aren't too squeamish. But on that walk, I lost all of my toenails. I lost the fat pads in the front of my feet. So sitting here talking to you today feels like I've got car keys in my socks, if you can imagine what that feels like. I lost, the heels came off my feet, and then it got really hard. I had combustible diarrhea. I had leaky gut, which is when the sugars leak into your intestines. And then I broke my 2 feet. But the choice I had on the start line was take one step. And the choice I had on the 9th marathon was take one step, and it was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely amazing what happened on that journey. I made lifelong friends. We had the most amazing, amazing adventure. And when we got back to Waterford City at the end of it, our friends and family were there. The city centre closed. The Coast Guard flew a guard of honour. It was amazing. It unleashed in me the potential to realise that anything was possible. So I suppose you talked there about I had done Ironman, which is, if anyone's near their local pool, it's about 200 lengths of your local pool. And then it's an equivalent of a bike ride from Cork to Dublin. And then you run a marathon. So I did 2 of those, but their message is, or their corporate logo is, slogan is anything is possible. And it really began to dawn on me, the only thing stopping me in life is me. And once I realized that I could achieve those, they literally changed my mind, or my life's, because instead of going to an event, I became the event. And as my wife calls it, midlife crisis part 3, I climbed Kilimanjaro with a washing machine on my back. I know you guys are in studio there today, but anyone listening to this podcast, if you have a look out your car window right now, or have a look up at the clouds from your sitting room or wherever you are in work, I ended up 3 days walk above the clouds that you can see with the washing machine on my back in Africa with 100 people. And if you think about it, I started in my garden shed on my own in the darkness, crying, drinking whiskey because I couldn't see the point of my life anymore. And, fast forward a few years, you said, what can people do? Take action. And if you need a fuel, hope. It's a brilliant fuel. I recommend it.
It's such a profound message, and so inspirational. But, you touched on your gorgeous, beautiful relationship with your father. How were you with your mother? What was your relationship like? Did she play a role as a mentor in your life? Oh, she's right behind you on the screen.
That's her bell.
Watching over you.
That's her bell. She was she loved being an auditor, a referee at debates. So 1982 or 83, my mum's best friend died from breast cancer in Nace Hospital. And in the bed beside her was somebody getting their appendix out. And on the other side, somebody who had some sort of food poisoning. And that woman's family, the Burke family, had to say goodbye to their mom in the middle of a general ward. And my mum came out, and I remember she said to me in the car park, she said, "That's wrong." And I said, "What's wrong?" And she explained that it should be dignity in life. And, that woman should have had privacy in her family to mourn and say what they needed to say. So my mum decided, there was no hospice in Kildare. So my mum decided, I could get the numbers wrong now, but she raised something like £3 million in 1984. And if you're in Kildare and you know where the Jockeys Hospital is, the old hospital on the Curragh, she bought that and built on her own Kildare Hospice and opened it so that other families would have the dignity. So, sometimes people say to me, Enda, where did you get the resilience or the drive? I think I grew up around collection cans and American tea parties and table quizzes and stickers and all that.
Well, I'm starting to see where this all comes from.
Yeah,
obviously, apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, she's the most amazing woman. Like she was a teacher. She got a place in the Orty Symphony Orchestra, decided not to take it because she met my dad. Do you know not Victor Meldrew? Do you know Hyacinth Bouquet? Do you know?
Yes.
That was my mom, right? And you know the little fella behind her, the husband, I can't think of his name now. What was her name?
Richard?
Richard. That's it. Yeah, well, they were the Irish version of the two of those, but they were powerful people to be around and inspirational people. But my mum was just a firecracker of a woman. Like, you know, she was incredible. You know, she tried retiring about 3 times and couldn't do it. You know, she opened a language school in Kildare, and you know, she wasn't that great on the internet. So I remember one day I said to her, Mum, are you around next weekend? She said, no. I said, where are you going? She said, I'm going to Zurich. Why? There's a lot of schools there. I'm going to go over and ask them would they like to come to Ireland to my language school. And I said, what language school? She said, I haven't got one yet, but I think I will. You know?
Wow.
And
Such
off she
an
went.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, when you grow up around someone like that, I think it's it definitely rubs off, you know.
Yeah.
And incredibly
Comes back.
resourceful too, that she was able to just, you know, get her hands into it and just start taking, as you say, actions. Like if that was the example you had growing up, it makes a lot of sense now how you approach life, you know, and what you do to help yourself feel better and live a happier, more fulfilling life. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
I know with both of you that yoga is your passion. I was reading about your next retreat. It sounds amazing. It sounds absolutely amazing. I was reading down through the schedule and I was thinking, the food sound. Typical me. I was looking at the food first. I was looking at the breakfast, and I was looking at was there a neck and head massage after morning yoga?
Shavasana.
Yeah, a pint of
Essential
shavasana
oils.
is your only man. I have to tell you.
Pint of Shavasana, it's the best
Everyone's
way.
favorite pose. So
Yeah.
important.
I don't
And
know.
Jan, I think.
I don't know if I told you about my shavasana experience. You know, my wife brought me to yoga to calm me down and make me more mindful and help my flexibility. So I paid my €15 or €12, whatever it was, I went to this yoga class, and at the end, I discovered shavasana and meditation, which is just amazing. I love it, especially if someone has the right tone of voice and, you know, if they're good at it. And so we're doing the shavasana anyway, and I'm really relaxing into it. And the next day I can hear this, yoke snoring, right? And I ignore it for a minute, and then about the third or fourth one, I was like, oh my God, I did not pay this money to listen to somebody snoring like a pig being strangled. So I sat up indignant to look around and see, you know, who am I going to shake? And then I realized it was me.
It's a really good sign.
It means
Gone.
it works.
Out cold.
Yeah.
Out cold. Out cold. Yeah.
And I think, like, you know, Shavasana as well, it's whatever about the physical yoga and all that, like it's the Shavasana that you really need at the end to kind of seal it all in, like let it actually move through your body, that what you've worked through, and just lie in stillness with it. Because like everything around us is energy, and like you talked on, you know, surrounding yourself with the right people, and it's all like, what's the good and bad energy out there, and becoming more aware of that and being more, I suppose, boundaried and strict with yourself, to be like, in a loving way, but to just say, you know, these things don't fill my cup. This person I'm around actually drains me, because you can come away from certain conversations or certain events and you feel absolutely wiped, or you could be buzzing, you know. So I think it's so important that we check in and have that intuition to know what fills us up. And I think that is a huge part of, you know, you talk on living a happier, more fulfilling life. But before we round things up, can you just elaborate a bit on, you know, like what tips or advice you would give to people, you know, as we talked about the energy and the, you know, anxiety that's out there, to help really soothe the body and mind?
Well, for me, like, you know, if people want to try this, honestly, there's multiple things you could do. And the first one, I hate saying it because I hate, you know, I use Instagram and social media. I have to, because as a speaker, you know, if I don't go on podcasts and radio shows, people don't know I'm a speaker, don't know that I'm able to perform, and I have to do it. But the whole ice bath trend and ice bathing thing, I was like watching these guys going, what are they on about? And like these, you know, give that fella a knife and a fork, he's going to eat himself, you know. And then Christmas morning, my kids bought me an ice bath. So Christmas Day, the whole family stripped off into the swimming togs, and we all managed, I'd say between 6 of us, we managed a full 10 seconds each, right?
Wow.
And it was worth it. The screaming and the laughter in the garden on Christmas Day, it was great, right? So I said, I'm going to do it. So I got my ice bath and I got in, and I got to 10 seconds, 20 seconds. And by the end of February, I was up to 10 minutes. And for someone who is really has had, and still would have panic attacks or anxiety disorder, the peace and the calmness in that ice is just incredible. And the ability to breathe deeper and slower. Like I find sitting still incredibly challenging. If you said to me, Enda, do 5,000 push-ups day and 1,000 pull-ups, I'd do it. If you said to me, Enda, sit today in silence for 5 minutes, I know now I couldn't do it. Like it's just such a challenge. For some people, that peace and stillness is difficult. So I would say to you, go to your local lake, go to your river, or go and buy the biggest bucket you can in Lidl or Aldi or Woodies, whatever it is, and fill it with cold water. You don't even have to ice it. Get into it every morning and try and breathe slowly for 10 minutes. It literally transformed me. I get out every morning happy, awake, alive. It's amazing. I shouldn't say it. Maybe I should. I will be honest. It feels like to me I'm having a treble vodka and a tequila at 8 o'clock in the morning. It just feels like, it's like espresso. It's espresso. It's like, boom, you're awake.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing too is, like, say this morning I did it at 6. Okay. Now, I'm sorry about the imagery, but I'm standing in the kitchen in my underpants at 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I'm looking out into the garden. It's raining. It's cold. And I have to fight that battle. I have to overcome me. I have to make a decision. It's not on Instagram. There's nobody clapping. There's nobody watching. There's no TV. There's no podcast. Will you or won't you? It's that simple. It's that profound. Are you going to do something good for yourself right now? Or are you going to go back upstairs with a coffee and pretend you did it? Are you going to be, like you said earlier, Anna, about being honest with yourself? And the challenge is there. So, like, I start the day with a win when I've done that. So I think the cold water thing, as horrible as people think it is, honestly, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. That would be one thing I'd say. The other thing I would say is to get out of breath and sweaty as often as you can. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing, but, my wife would say she's regularly gone to the gym and has no interest in going and felt miserable going in. She has never come out of the gym feeling the opposite. It's always the opposite. You always feel good after doing something.
You never regret moving, really, in general, do you?
Yeah, moving is good. I think too, increasingly, I think people are aware of, there's a wonderful nutritionist in Waterford called Gemma Keogh, and Gemma, I heard her give a talk a couple of years back, and it was a great talk, but I always remember there's one key sentence she said is, if you eat rubbish, you're going to feel rubbish. Just so simple. Eating local, seasonal, healthy food, eating large, like, I think we're programmed to eat less and less. Like, stuff your face, eat as much as you like. Doesn't that sound really appealing? Just make sure it's really good stuff.
The right stuff.
The right stuff.
Exactly.
So you can sit, like, if, like, I have a bit of a thing. I love roast broccoli from the air fryer. That goes sort of spicy, sweety, sour taste to it and crunchy. Like, you can sit and literally eat a dustbin of broccoli and it's gorgeous, right? But eating good food, moving, for me too, sunshine. Like, I'm really affected by light and darkness, so I have to get sunlight. And the wonderful thing about my job as a speaker is I get to travel to different places. And people think I'm like permatan, I'm covered in fake tan or something, because I'm always planning the next holiday. So it's daylight, exercise, movement, cold water therapy. Like, I think the thing to do is try stuff. I think a lot of people sit on the couch and go, God, I wish I didn't feel like this, or I wish I didn't look like this, or try stuff, and like what works for me, like you might get into cold water therapy and go, he can keep that. I'm never doing that, right? It just mightn't work for you. But remember, I thought that too.
Yeah.
And now
it's choosing something you connect with. Always, like we would always say that. And you touched on it earlier as well, the consistency. That's something that it doesn't have to be a Kilimanjaro, like big mountain hike. But as you say, your Kilimanjaro might be I'm going to have to cut back on coffees. Maybe it's one a day rather than 2 or 3, or, whatever it is that is going to improve your overall health and well-being and your energy levels, because, so many of us are so fatigued and, it's just, we're young and fit and healthy, but we're tired all the time. And it's a lot of that external energy as well. That's
I'm quite tired a lot. Like, but I do, the thing is, it's hard to quantify or describe, but it's good tired. you know,
Yes, I know the feeling.
like, oh my God.
Healthy
You can
tiredness.
distinguish. Yeah.
Yeah, we describe that healthy tiredness from Connemara.
Yeah.
If we're in Connemara, we are always like a healthy tired and constantly starving.
Yeah. I go, there's a friend of mine, Ross, and his parents for years have had a house in Achill, and we go surfing there. And I remember the first time I went surfing, I was still drinking at the time. And I remember I bought like whiskey and I had a bottle of brandy and I had wine in the car. You know, we were going to go up and we were going to surf and drink our heads off. And I remember we went up the first day and I hadn't been like in intensive surfing, like that big surf and bloody huge waves. And I remember we went back to the house and we had pasta bake and there was 5 of us and we couldn't manage a bottle of wine between the 5 of us. And we all went to sleep at about 7:30 that evening. And I literally slept for 14 hours. I was just wasted. And it was an amazing feeling, you know?
Yeah,
An amazing
incredible.
feeling.
And I think it's when you touched on the cold water as well, I set myself the task in 2020, which was the perfect year to start it. But from the 1st of February 2020 to the 1st of February 2021, I set myself the goal to get into the sea every single day, no matter what the weather was like, no matter how long or how short I stayed in it. And what I found interesting was because I used to watch people when I moved back to Galway from Dublin. I remember watching the people that would go in every day, look at them and be like, they're such lunatics, but I want to be them. Like, I want to be that crazy person that goes into the sea every day. So when I started it, what I soon realized was, yes, I was choosing that every day, and it was probably the hardest thing I was going to do in my day. So anything else that came after that didn't feel as intense. I felt like, well, if I could handle the snow and the sea, I can handle whatever's coming up here. But I started to crave the cold. Like, my body actually started to crave that temperature, that inner stillness, that inner peace. Because as you said, the minute you hit cold water, you can't think of anything else but the cold water and how you need to breathe. And it's the quickest way to get mindful. It's the quickest way to get into the present moment and to get back into your body, because it's screaming at you. Everything in your body is screaming to say, get out of this water. This is so intense. Yeah. But what I found throughout that process as well, community, the people you meet along the way as well. And that's something that I find has really kind of disconnected people. I think since COVID, it's been really hard. It's been challenging, people working hybridly, you know, not getting into the office as much, missing that central community. And that's what I loved about sea swimming. Whatever time of day I was down in Salt Hill, there was always a few swimmers there. Yeah. And they'd always say, don't go in on your own. But it's connecting with like-minded people too. So joining a class or going to a sauna that has an ice bath as well, you know, just getting outside of your comfort zone, but meeting people that are there too, and they're trying to get the same outcome, let's say. But it's, I loved it, and I need to get back into it. I've been very inconsistent, so I need to pull up my socks and go back into the sea. But
it's an interesting thing, you know, the thing that I think about community, that I spoke at an event in the States. I was speaking at this conference and there was a media meet and greet afterwards, and I hadn't planned it, I just said it, but I was talking about, you know, I said what makes us human is our humanity, our ability to lift others, to help others, to shape others. That's what makes us truly human. And, you know, what you're talking about there is when you meet someone that they tell you their car is broken down or their marriage is broken down, or they tell you that, you know, that they've lost their job, or, you know, and they're looking for someone to lean on, and you give them that bit of advice. It's that humanity that makes us different. I think too, you know, we're talking about in changing and improving your mental health, your physical health. I would seriously encourage people to use their phone less and less and less. You know, I could bore you with loads of data and statistics, but it's this simple. The lower the number of hours on your phone at the end of the week, the higher your level of happiness. Right. And that's scientific fact. If you're looking at a screen, if you're looking at Instagram, if you're looking at TikTok, remember that algorithm has been trained specifically to make you addicted. Right. So my wife's TikTok is all cookery programs and kitchen designs and fashion, and mine is all jiu-jitsu, boxing, rugby, cars, because it knows that's my addiction, and it's making me watch it more. You know, if you pick up a page and, you know, you start at the page and read at the top, you get to the bottom of the page. But I think what people forget on the phone is it's infinite scrolling. You are never, ever getting to the end of that page. And our brain is wired to think, I'll just keep going and I'll get to the end. There is no end, you know? So like when I'm working with I work a lot with schools and with students, and one of the things I see, their levels of anxiety and upset is hugely linked to their phones. You've got a kid, and she's going on social media at 11 o'clock at night when she should be sleeping. She's looking at all her perfect friends with perfect filters, with perfect skin, with perfect lives, and she's sitting in bed and she's got a Marietta biscuit, dunking it in a cup of tea, and she's got a giant spot on her chin that's killing her, and she thinks her life is miserable as a result. It's they're at their most vulnerable, most tired, and they're feeding on this social media. So I would say to people, like, use your phone a lot less. Actually, I have to tell you, I did something at an event recently. You'd have loved it. So I was introduced, and I walked down to the CEO of this company. I walked down off the stage and I asked him, could I borrow his phone? And he said, of course. So he gave me his phone. I walked back up to the top table. There's a big jug of water on the table, and I dropped his phone into the water. Right? The entire room went, oh, because that is the equivalent of hitting someone's baby. That's just you don't touch. Imagine someone dropped your phone in the water. That's like murder, right? So drop the phone. The bubbles are coming up out of the phone, and he's sitting with his mouth open, going, "What have I hired? What has this guy done?" And I passed a comment, looked at the phone. I said, "Oh, you can tell he's the CEO because the phone is about $2,000 worth, right?" And I asked people in the audience, and maybe people at home listening to this could do this exercise right now. Give a yes or no in your own mind, right? Do you have a cover for your phone? I bet you everyone's going yes. Do you have a PIN number to protect your privacy secrecy? Yes. Do you check your battery level repeatedly during the day? Of course you do. Do you check your phone first thing in the morning and last thing at night? Lots of people do. Do you panic, like death panic? Like, oh, where'd I put it? That moment where your phone is missing?
Yeah.
And I asked all of these questions, and every single person in the room was saying yes. And I said, isn't it funny? I said, can you imagine if you invested 10% of the energy that you invest in your phone? Imagine you invested that in your physical health, in your relationships, in your nutrition, in your finances, into the people you love. Imagine you invested that time and effort into the people that you're currently putting into the phone. And everyone was going, yeah, except for the guy at the front who's going like,
yeah,
right.
What's he done with my phone?
Yeah, but then I took his phone out of my suit pocket, because what I had done is, as I walked back to the stage, I swapped it out with a broken phone. Right?
Oh my God.
From where he was sitting, he just sat there and he went, whew, he was so relieved to get his phone back. But,
he's like, I get the point, but I need my phone.
Yeah, but isn't it
You're
true?
so attached.
But it's so true.
So attached. But like,
yeah,
if you're using the phone more and more and more, it just rises your anxiety levels, and
I can feel it myself. Exactly. When you doom scroll or whatever, if you're tired and you're sitting down and you're just scrolling, you're there going, where did that half an hour just go? You know, and it's all designed to make you feel not enough.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. I love like your phone is brilliant, right? Yeah. Like technology is amazing. Like one of my family wanted to get into my car and they were downtown the other day. I can send them a digital key, so I could send them a text message and it has the key to my car. They could get in, right? There's a button on my key on my dash of my car. This is crazy. The world has gone mad. I got a stove, one of those wood pellet stoves.
Yeah.
But this stove has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Okay, so we're driving home from Dublin, it's pouring rain. I press a button on the dash of the car, it cleans the stove and lights it.
Oh my God.
Like, that's what technology is meant to do for you.
We're getting so lazy, aren't we?
We're getting so lazy, but my point is this, that technology is brilliant. Like, my watch will beep and say, get your ass out of the chair because you've been sitting for an hour. Or I am 6,000 steps short of 20,000 for today. I have to get, for me, my number is 20,000 every day. I try and do it. But you can have technology as a stick to beat yourself with and make your life more miserable, or you can be smart about it and let technology make the biggest difference to improve your life.
100%. And that comes back to the choice. And it's the decision you make. And when you wake up every day, how are you going to use your day? How are you going to use technology to benefit you, not to drain you? Who are you going to surround yourself with? What decisions are you going to make? And I think that's such a key message, because I'm a devil for my phone. So it's a good reminder.
Yeah, well, it's like, don't get me wrong. It's like, as an alcoholic, I don't drink alcohol, but if you have a party, you should put me in charge of the bar. You should see the cocktails I make, and I will knock down 20 of your friends and have them ill for 3 days. Like, I know alcohol is not for me. I just can't drink it. I can't do that. But alcohol it's not per se evil. It's probably not great for your physical health, but it has benefits. It's like anything, it's like, if a glass of water on my desk here, like I read recently about a guy who died on a marathon because he drank too much water and his kidneys shut down. A glass of water can kill you if you abuse it.
It's everything in moderation.
Yeah.
It's all about balance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's I think sometimes in life, when you're doing ironing and picking up the kids and, you're cooking dinner or you're picking up your wife, or you're trying to bring the kids to Irish dancing, jiu-jitsu, piano, hurling, it's raining, you have to pay the mortgage, it's an avalanche of crap literally falling into your, it's very difficult. And particularly if you're listening to some guru like me on the radio or on your podcast, and he says, you should take time for an ice bath at 6 a.m. And somebody listening to this is going, I'm making fucking sandwiches and looking for bags of crisps, life happens, it's difficult. But like sometimes, I was talking to someone who got married recently, and I was telling them that for the entire duration of our marriage, one of the things we did at the start was I would literally take anyone's children. I would take a stranger's children off the road and mind them for 2 nights on condition I could cash in those credits later on, right? Because for 30 years of marriage, we've always gone away for a week together somewhere. And I remember when the kids were teenagers, I remember them one stage going, oh God, do we have to go to Granny's, because there's like one TV station, there's no internet. And I remember saying to my eldest, Oshie, and I said to him, he said, Dad, why do I have to go to Granny's? And I said, look, if I don't have a relationship with your mom, we don't have a family. And he just looked at me and went, have a great time.
Yeah. Priorities.
Totally.
Yeah.
And being honest with your son as well. Like, it's not just giving him any old answer. It's, kids are able to take that honesty.
To them like an
I'm conscious that you have lots of I know you have lots of male listeners, but you have lots of female listeners too, and particularly in the area of yoga. Unfortunately, you'll see more females nearly always than males, right?
I know.
But I did want to share this story with you. We were talking about Behind the Mask, my book, Not Seeing the Truth. So on when we were training for Belfast to Waterford, like to run 9 marathons in 8 days with a washing machine takes a lot of effort. It took 9-10 months, and it took 20 hours a week training to get there. But on one of those training walks, I noticed pretty regularly my wife was going to the bathroom in the Tower Hotel in Waterford, which is not far from our house. But we would have left the house maybe half an hour earlier. And I said to her one day, every time we pass this hotel, you go to the loo. Like I thought had she a thing for the soap in there, or was, what was going on? And she said, oh, I don't know. She said, I just needed to go. So I said to her on the Monday, look, you're going to get that checked out. So she went to the GP on Monday, and the GP sent her for a scan on Tuesday. She saw the gynecologist on Wednesday. And on Thursday, they removed a 14-pound tumour. She had a full hysterectomy, right?
Wow.
Now, when she had the hysterectomy, like much, our lifestyle is exercise and walking and being active. And if anyone's had one, then you'll know it's a horrendous operation. Like the stitches are from your pelvic bone, the whole way up to your rib cage, literally. And I remember the consultant said to her, look, you can't lift anything, you have to be really careful. And she said, can I do anything? He said, no, can't do anything. He said the only thing you can do is walk, right? I think 9 weeks later, my wife walked from Belfast to Waterford to make sure I was okay.
Oh, wow.
And you see the hero, you see the big muscly fellow with the washing machine in his back, and just over his right shoulder, like his guardian angel, is this perfect little lady made of titanium. I don't know anyone who would take on something like that. And she walked the whole way to Waterford. But in our culture and in our media, and I understand I was the guy with the washing machine, but like real bravery, real heroism was her doing that, and she's not half as vain or as big mouth as I am. So she'd kill me actually. She finds out I've told you this on the podcast.
Sure. No, I love that.
But
that's so important. But and I think it's really important to understand as well that people that achieve greatness never go alone.
Oh.
And I think it can get really isolating the further you progress career or whatever it is that you're aiming for. But understanding that the support network you have is so important for your mental, physical health, but also just for your anxiety levels that, even just you feeling her presence, I'd say, kept you calm and kept you going because you knew someone was behind you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's important to have those amazing people in your life, and lucky you having a wife like her. You're
Yeah,
spoilt.
yeah. She's a great, like she's a great person. She's just a, I you know, I couldn't tell you twice in her life I've heard her raise her voice. You know, she does yoga every day. She's vegetarian. She's calm, peaceful, kind. There's a real deep inner beauty in her. But the only thing bad in her life, I suppose, really would be me. But but she needs that bit of badness. But you know, it's interesting you said there about, you know, people surrounding you. There was a guy. I can't remember. I was on some radio show or that some DJ. Oh, I do remember. I better not say his name. He's a fairly well known guy, but he said to me something about and behind every great man is a great woman. And I said to him, I said, "Come here. What century are you from?" And he said, "What?" I said, "There's no woman behind me." I said, "In my life, worst case scenario, they're standing beside me because I'm falling over and they're picking me up. The normal scenario in my life is my daughter, my sister, my mom, my wife. The women in my life are out in front, guiding me, helping me, encouraging me, shouting at me, telling me not to give up." I said, "I don't know what kind of women you have in your life. The great women are all behind you." And he said, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that." And I said, "Yeah, but that's the message that you're perpetuating." I said,
Yeah.
"Great, like anything I've done has because of the great women in my life in front of me, never behind." Because the implication there is that, you know, like she's better off back there. Like let the fella out, you know. And
Yeah, that's
like,
such a good point.
oh,
And
So
it's such
true.
a phrase that you would use like without even thinking of it. You know, you're like, oh yeah, behind. But then it's like, yeah, they're not behind.
No,
like, you know,
exactly.
they're showing you the way. Like your mother was such a
bloody hell! If
force
someone said
with
that to my daughter, she's super confident, fit, brilliant woman. She's just, you know, bursting with life, and I dread to think that she was walking behind anyone, you know, man or
Yeah.
woman. And it's not even for me. It's not even that male female dynamic. It's, you know, it's leaders make a difference by doing things.
For
You know,
sure.
I work. It's fun and being vulnerable. It's interesting to go full circle. At the start, we were talking about, you know, being honest. You know, I spoke at an event recently. You know, it's really nice as a motivational speaker. I was in this large, well-known national corporation, and I spoke at this event, and I said, "Look, if anyone is vulnerable afterwards, if you're feeling, you know, that you need help, please reach out for professional help. Or if you want to talk to me, I'm not a professional mental health professional, but I have empathy, and of course, I'm happy to talk to anyone." And the first person to reach out to me by email and ask could he meet me the next day was the CEO of the company. And I had met this guy the day before, in the weeks before the event, and he was just drop dead gorgeous, tall, tanned, handsome, super successful, millionaire. You know, that guy just had absolutely everything. But he was broken like the rest of us, and he was trying to get through life as well. And it was the first time he'd realized that he had to say something about it, you know. And like you say, back to being honest. I suppose back to, I've been dying to say this, love your limits.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so true. On that
What
note,
a good way to finish up.
oh, thank you, Enda, so much for being here and for
amazing.
taking the time to have this conversation with us. We've so enjoyed this interaction, and I definitely know that so many of our listeners will be taking out their notebooks and taking all the notes down from this. You've got gems in there.
You're
so
very kind. You're very
we really
kind.
appreciate it.
No, not at all. It was a real privilege to come on, and you know, I'm enjoying, since you invited me on. I've been making my way back through old episodes to see what you're at and how much pressure I was going to be under today. And there's some great guests and great wisdom. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, well, you picked a great episode to start with. But do go back and look at the other ones. I have a podcast called the Mighty Mini Podcast, if I can plug it, but it's called the Mighty Mini Podcast. Mighty because some of the episodes are an hour long, and mini because they're like 8 minutes when you're sitting on the loo or making a slice of toast and you want to listen to a short one. But what I did on the Mighty Mini was I asked people on who I really admire or like, but I also asked a lot of guests on who I can't stand, because I think sometimes in life we misunderstand people because we don't know their truth, or we don't know their meanings or their values. And like I'll let you guess which ones I didn't like. But I had Keith Barry, and I had Michael Healy Ray, and I had Mary Lou McDonald, and I think I have the Taoiseach coming on. But like it's I don't know, I presume you find the same. It's fantastic therapy to talk to so many people and get so many ideas. I love it. You know, it's really, really great.
100%.
The great sign of a podcast is I feel I've been talking to you guys for about 30 seconds, and I hope your listeners feel the same.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
it. The time flies.
I love it. Time flies when you're having fun. It's all about that
Exactly.
good energy, Enda, and you've got bucket loads of it. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Love Your Limits podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If something resonated with you or you would like to learn more, please find all contact details in the show notes. We are also delighted to offer our listeners 1 month free access to Yoga Mara on demand. Use the code LOVEYOURLIMITS at sign up to watchyogamara.com. And remember, learning to love your limits is an act of self-care and self-love.